What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So let's start this video with Andrew Jacked as he joins his entire crew in Vegas and goes through his last back and hamstring session before this year's Miss Olympia. So did anyone else also notice how quickly Andrew's face changed in the last few days? The cheekbones are so prominent in today's video, and that is always a very good indication that someone is absolutely ripped and shredded. Really like this moment from today's video where the entire crew along with Muhammad Fada and Stanimo are standing there watching Andrew Jacked pulling that entire stack with one hand. So Stan was also the part of that team back in 2018 when the late Sean Roden won the Olympia title and dethroned Phil Heath. So what did you guys think? Is this another history in the making? So expecting Andrew Jacked to win the Olympia title in his third attempt, maybe that is putting a lot of pressure on him. But the thing is, you will never hear Andrew making these kind of big statements that he is gonna win the Olympia title or that he wants to win 5 or 6 or 7. The only time he talked about his placings at this year's Miss Olympia after winning this year's Texas Pro, he mentioned top 5. So a top 3 finish at this year's Miss Olympia, that I believe is gonna be so massive and a step closer to winning that whole entire damn thing. So a big bodybuilding fan base wants Andrew Jacked or Samson Dowda win the Olympia title. They want those taller, more aesthetic guys to finally take over. But the thing is, what the fans and what the judges see, they are two different things. And it is gonna be really hard for Andrew Jacked or even Samson Dowda to match either Hadi Choopan or Derek Linsford purely in terms of conditioning. Because both these guys, we know they are gonna be absolutely ripped. And they are most probably gonna be one of the most conditioned guys in that entire Olympia weekend. So after we are done with this year's Miss Olympia, I am sure there will be a lot of comments that if Nick Walker was in this show, in this lineup, with that same package that he was bringing to the Olympia 2023, that package that we did not get to see because of his hamstring tear, he would have fought for the Olympia title this year as well. Because isn't that exactly what the chatter has been throughout this year's Olympia prep? Well, I have got to say it did change a bit after this year's New York Pro. Because everyone agreed that next New York Pro package, that wasn't a caliber of physique that would place top 3 in the world. So this argument that Nick Walker would have beaten Derek or maybe Hadi back in 2023, that I have to say is just so unfair and so disrespectful to both these guys and towards all of the athletes who are actually competing. And I think most of you guys will agree that we just do not want to hit this argument after this year's Miss Olympia as well. So let Nick Walker rest a bit, recover, and prove himself on the big stage before we start assuming stuff. So when Nick Walker said that he wants to win 10 Olympia titles, that was nothing but being very delusional. So did Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, or even Phil Heath ever made such kind of statements before winning their first ever Miss Olympias? I bet Phil Heath never even made such kind of statement, even after winning 7 Olympia titles. Now I have to say it is really sad and it is really unfortunate that Nick Walker is out of this show for the second time in a row. His attendance could have made this year's Olympia a lot more interesting and a lot more exciting, because the thing is, he brings a lot of energy and a whole lot of hype to any show that he enters. But why is his body not responding when the guy is so young and he has only done one show since the Arnold 2023? That is a serious question. So Nick Walker is just 30 years old, so he has got time on his side, unlike guys like Samson or Andrew Jacked. But the people in his corner, they must make sure that he is in a good place mentally. So this is a big blow to him financially as well, and psychologically too, because he did another full prep, spent a lot of money on the food and stuff, and dropped out of the Olympia race without making any money. So hopefully he gets better, and he's ready to rock and roll for this upcoming Arnold in 2025, because originally that was Nick Walker's plan. Keep an eye out for Blessing Awodibu. Doesn't matter what he's wearing, doesn't really matter what kind of clothes he has on. That is a 324 pounds man on the scale. And that, I have to say, is uncharted territory for Blessing. And on top of that, only Samson Dowda and Big Robbie, they go to this level in the offseason phase. And you know what's really surprising? There are 3 more months left before Blessing puts an end to this offseason and starts prepping for his show. So the man is just gonna keep on pushing, keep on shoving more food, until the man just cannot do it anymore. So Jay Cutler has also spoken about this. The big bad wolf from Germany, Dennis Wolf, also told us that how difficult it is to get in all those calories when you're trying to get bigger. And Blessing as of right now is in that same boat. Just take a look at how full-blown his face is looking at the moment while he's doing that side laterals. So I really hope him putting his body through so much stress for an elongated period of time, that pays off big time in 2025. Ideally in the form of a third pro win and also the Olympia qualification for 2025. But more important than that, hopefully his quads will look noticeably improved, because that has been a major concern throughout his pro career. Now I think Blessing could have won a pro show this year as well, if he picked his show more strategically. So he went up against guys like Nathan Diasha and Regan Grimes in Italy, and both those guys have very good legs. So Nathan's quads in particular looked amazing in Italy. So this is gonna be the biggest time off taken by Blessing in his pro career. And last time he took a year off, that resulted in 2 pro wins. So this is the Olympia peak week, and as promised, we have a few more interactions that happened between some of the biggest names of the industry at the moment. So let's start with Urs and Martin, trying to go in that Super Saiyan mode. So both Martin and Urs are being coached by the same guy, Stefan. And both these guys go way back. We have seen so many updates of Martin throughout this year's Olympia prep, which by the way is gonna be his Olympia debut. But Urs on the other hand, he has kept us waiting throughout these last 12 weeks or so. So we will see on this weekend how his 4th Olympia goes, and especially against guys like Ramon, Wesley and Brian. So it is the battle of the biggest biceps between Ramondino and Fabian, who are both going to be competing against each other at this year's Classic Physique Miss Olympia. So I have to say Fabian wins this battle of the arms, and that too by a long shot. But do let me know what you guys think. Brian Ansley interacting with Chris Aceto, who is the coach of his rival, and putting up this good caption just days before this year's Miss Olympia. That is another good moment from today. John De Rosa and Esteban checking in with their coach Patrick Tour in Vegas today. So you guys have seen all these updates of John De Rosa leading into this year's Miss Olympia. And he is one of those guys along with Akeem Williams, who can be the dark horse to place top 10 at this year's Miss Olympia. Now keep an eye out for this guy as well, Esteban, another great talent added to the 212. And keep in mind, this is gonna be his 212 Miss Olympia debut. Another guy who is gonna bring those classic vibes to the 212 division this year. Next up we have an off-season physique update from Terence Ruffin, who is skipping this year's Miss Olympia, and for a greater good. So prime example of how most guys, they need just more than a few months of proper off time, getting bigger, of that growth phase, in order to make some significant improvements, especially at the highest level. So it would have been such a difficult decision for Terence to sit out of this year's Miss Olympia. And if it wasn't for his elbow problem that hindered him from training his arms throughout this year, the way he wanted to bring up his arms, he probably would have done this year's Olympia as well, because he was already qualified. So all this off time now, that will be a good opportunity to make sure that things this time are perfect for the big push, because Terence wants to maximize the amount of muscle that he can gain this year. Simply because he can put on another 15 pounds of solid muscle before he hits that classic physique ceiling, which by the way is more than anyone in this year's Olympia top 10. So Terence has 2 Arnold Classic titles under his belt, 2 second place finishes at the Olympia, and he has been competing in Classic since 2016, the year it was first introduced. And his physique has also evolved beautifully in these last 8 years. But this is the year that Terence wants to make it count the most and maybe fight for the Olympia title again in 2025. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video, and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.